it says stop streaming.
Okay, well, it's going to just take it a sec to...
How will I know when it's streaming?
Left hand, right hand side.
Oh.
See, it's updating.
Oh, there it is.
Here. Start off on that.
So, if that's what's showing, or this?
I think it's going to be the right hand. So you can see your preview.
Okay.
Yeah, see, there you go.
That's what I want to start with.
What, your face or the...
Yeah.
You just changed it back.
I want it to be this.
I know, it's on a delay. You just changed it back.
Oh.
So, now it'll be on your face. I can see on my end.
So what I see on the right doesn't show up as fast.
No, there's what we call stream delay.
Got it.
Here.
So that's going to be weird when you talk. So should I talk into the microphone?
You already are.
Okay. So hello to anyone who's out there. We see 1 or 2 people already logged in. If you want, over on the live chat box, tell us who's here. So we're going to have a fun, casual 30, 45 minutes. So for anyone who's logged in, let me know you're here. Love the IT guy. So we know a couple people are out there. Would love to hear who's with us tonight. Type your name in, please. Well, it's not 7.
It's 1 minute till.
Well, people are notoriously late. I don't want to talk to air. Can you see how many people are logged in?
No.
Great to see Sandrine here. Welcome. Gonna wait another minute or two and see if a couple other people show up. We had about 10 people RSVP. So hopefully they'll come. Regardless, I will go through this material since this is going to be a video on demand, and then people can access it at their leisure. Okay, it's 7 o'clock. Welcome to the LAHJA first ever webinar, and we're going to talk about the LAHJA Horsemastership Scholarship Program, and most specifically our hands-on phase. Very briefly, our Horsemastership Scholarship Program is a 3-phase competition. It's open to any junior member of LAHJA from 1st through 12th grade, and our members can compete in it year after year. And the goal of the program is to encourage and reward horsemanship skills. And LAHJA gives $5,000 worth of college scholarships out each year, and we've been doing this for about 10 years. It's a 3-phase program. There's a written test, which we partner with the United States Hunter Jumper Association and use their horsemanship quiz challenge. The 11 and under kids can do level 1 of the horsemanship quiz challenge, and the rest of the kids do level 2. Anyone wanting to compete for the scholarship, including the 11 and under kids, have to do level 2. But we do have an 11 and under award for those younger kids to introduce them to the program and to encourage and reward them. The next phase, the second phase, is our hands-on stable management phase. And we hold that in the fall in association with one of our horse shows. Traditionally, it's held at Gold Coast October at the LA Equestrian Center. And the participants come to the testing area where they're tested on their various stable management horse knowledge, and that's what tonight we're going to focus on. And then the third phase is the riding phase, and the competitors are asked to send a video. Judge My Ride partners with us and does the judging of the riding phases. And although the riders are judged on equitation standards, they can use a hunter, a jumper, or an equitation round at whatever level they compete at, from crossrails to junior jumpers. And we've seen both of those ends of the spectrum and everything in between. So that's a little bit about the program. And the way this is going to work tonight, you will be able to hear me, and you will be able to see some materials that we're going to provide. If you have questions, want to talk, there's the live chat box, and I'll keep tabs on it, and our great IT guy is also monitoring, so he'll help also. And we definitely will be asking some questions, and this webinar will be saved on this YouTube page for people to access at any time. So tonight, what we wanted to do was talk about the hands-on phase that we did in 2016, so that people can see and understand what we did, how we scored it, and then I'm going to go through some of the specific items that we tested the kids on, ask some questions, get some input, and to be able to use this for preparation for what to expect for this year's Horsemastership program. So, starting out, we developed a scoring criteria of scores 1 through 4, and we wanted to keep it very straightforward and not complicated. So if you got a score of 0, which nobody did, fortunately, it was because the person was unsafe or dangerous and just lacked even the most basic knowledge. And then what we did is we put the column ability to work at a barn, to kind of give people a guide that if they were working at a barn, or if the trainer or the barn manager was hiring one of these kids, what level of supervision and ability they could expect from the kid. So with a score of 0, we said that that person wouldn't be prepared to work around a horse without constant direction. Then a score of 1 meant that the person had minimal knowledge. They can identify things, but they lack the understanding of how to use things, or the purpose, the reason why they're doing something. And we said that if they were going to work around the barn, they could do so, but with a high degree of supervision and very basic tasks. Then a 2 meant that the person had sufficient knowledge and sufficient proficiency, would need more in-depth understanding of the purposes and uses and functions of things, but relatively safe, relatively competent. And that meant they could work around the horse in the barn with minimal supervision. They would need some direction and oversight for more complex tasks, but could do a lot of basic things. Then, if you got a 3, it meant you have very strong knowledge and ability to very competently identify things. And that you could also really demonstrate your understanding of things, the purpose of things, the use of things, very competent and very secure. And we felt that this person could be left in the barn all day and you wouldn't worry, but you probably wouldn't leave the property. The trainer could go teach in the ring all day and ride horses, and the person could be in the barn and you wouldn't really have to worry what was going on. And finally, in order to get a 4, you really had to have mastery. We wanted to see very, very proficient, very strong knowledge, and very readily demonstrating understanding of purpose and use, and can discuss the concepts behind things. And we said here, a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but not really, you could go away for the weekend, leave an emergency number with the person, and not worry. We were hoping to get we were hoping to see the participants in the 3s. We expected some 2s and hoped we didn't really get any 0s and 1s. And I have to say, the quality of our competitors in 2016 was really great. We had a great group of kids. I think there was about 20 of them that wound up doing the program. And it was great to see how many scores we had up in the strong 90th percentile. That was really exciting. So now I'm going to show you what 10 things we asked. Oh, wait, I did this wrong. Hang on, guys. See, I'm just learning too. I'd probably get about a 2. Definitely not a 4. IT guy would get a 4. Okay. So, we had 10 things that we asked the candidates to do. And what we were looking for is to have them physically do the tasks, but we told the kids up front and in their materials they got ahead of time, we wanted a dialogue. We wanted them to talk to us about what they were doing, why they were doing it, what they were thinking, what they were looking for. And I have no doubt that there were some kids who were in the 3 category, and on some of the scores we gave like 3.5. We did find ourselves occasionally using a little bit of a fraction. But those kids, if they had just been comfortable talking with us a little bit more, and the other judge and I really worked to engage the kids, ask them questions, help draw them out, and help them really show their knowledge. And this year, we definitely expect the same. So the more the kids can be comfortable talking and explaining what they're doing and why they're doing it, that will really help them show their knowledge and maximize their opportunities for scores. So we started right out with the turnout and preparation of the kid. And I have to say it was great this year. Nobody showed up in shorts and sneakers. Everybody was dressed great, and we definitely had pretty much 3s and 4s there. We didn't require gloves, but we liked it when a candidate acknowledged the use of gloves and the safety of gloves. They weren't knocked down for not having gloves, but the acknowledgement of gloves and some of the safety stuff is what took them from a 3 to a 4. Then we had the kids get an unknown horse out of its stall. And here we were looking to see how they approached the horse, and we emphasized that it was an unknown horse. Some of the kids were pretty cavalier. We don't necessarily expect them to think that they're approaching a dangerous horse, but we wanted to see those who took steps to address the horse and kind of read the horse and read its body language, or at least explain that. Look to see how they put on the halter and the lead rope, what things they fastened. We didn't knock people down for not putting the halter keeper through the second tab. A lot of us know that sometimes those are really stiff and difficult, although the candidates who acknowledged this aspect definitely moved more toward the 4 than the 3. A number of kids put the halter on without putting the lead rope around the horse's neck. And then taking the horse out of the stall, making sure the stall door's open all the way. Taking the horse straight out and not coming out at an angle. So those were some of the things we looked for there. One of the things that would got a couple kids a 1 or a 2 was coiling the rope around their hand. We absolutely needed to see the lead rope held in a safe manner where the coil couldn't tighten and they could hurt their hand or even lose a finger. And then we asked the kid to lead the horse just a little way down the barn aisle and then put the horse in a grooming stall. And again, what we were looking for is how the kid handled the horse. And we happened to use my 2 horses who are overly friendly. But it was great because we could see those kids who made the horse behave and mind them and not be in their faces. Some kids let the horse push them around, and that put them more in a 2 category rather than the 3 or 4. And the kids who really took charge of the horse but were fair and kind to the horse, that got them up in the 3 and the 4. And again, putting in the grooming stall, a lot like taking the horse out of its stall. We wanted to see a safe approach. You know, we wanted to see how the kid helped the horse turn around safely in the cross tie and how they fastened the horse, whether they took the lead rope off, what they did with the lead rope. We had one young lady leave the lead rope on, but she explained her reasoning, and she tied the rope around the horse's neck, and we accepted that. We didn't have, with some exceptions, a lot of hard and fast, you absolutely have to do something one way, because I think most experienced horsemen know there's a number of ways of doing a task, but safety, treating the horse appropriately, absolutely are paramount. So while some professionals may say, absolutely, if a horse in the cross ties, I do not want a lead rope attached to it whatsoever, and others may say they want to keep the lead rope on. Maybe it's a young horse and you want to help it get comfortable in the cross ties, and having that lead rope there helps you with the horse. As long as the rider candidate gave us reasons that made sense for what they were doing and didn't violate safety and didn't violate basic horsemanship, we rewarded them for that. Now, if they took the lead rope off and put it on the ground, they got fewer points than the ones who took the lead rope off and looked for a place to hang it. Then we asked them to groom the horse for a jumping lesson. And we explained they didn't need to groom the entire horse, but we did want them to demonstrate and explain each step. And we provided a variety of tools. We had 3 different types of curries. We had a mitt, we had a standard old rubber curry comb, and we had this kind of rubbery pronged thing I personally love. And we had a variety of brushes. We had a hoof pick. We had a comb. We had two different combs. We had a small thinning comb and we had a bigger comb. We had a brush you might use for tails. We gave them, and a rag and a bucket. We gave them a variety of tools. We didn't expect them to use all the tools. It was interesting. Some of the kids who were more in that 2 and a little bit of the 3 category tried to use every tool. I think in some ways because they felt that they needed to. The kids with more experience picked out the tools they liked and used them, and as long as they didn't omit some basics like currying the horse properly, we didn't penalize them for it. If they didn't differentiate between brushing the face and other tender areas with a softer brush, that kept you more in the high 2s or the 3s. And then in order to get a 4, we needed the kid to really explain to us the benefits of grooming, and beyond just cleaning the horse up, but that it allowed you to know your horse, it allowed you to identify any problems, it helped you know what was normal, what bumps and things on your horse are normal and what aren't, and things like it's good condition for the horse to be groomed, it helps their coat. There were even a couple kids, and they were in the 4s, who talked about it being this bonding time and getting to know their horse. And one young lady even said it was a great workout for her, and good fitness for her. And it was great to see that awareness. Some things we would have liked to have seen a little bit more of. There were plenty of kids who said, yep, you don't curry below the knees and you don't curry on the bony areas. But it would have been nice to see him take the mitt or the other rubbery curry device and explain that those are more appropriate for some of those areas. That was some of the differentiation we were looking at for the mastery category. Another thing we noted that quite a few of the kids did, and I think we're all guilty of, as they moved around the horse in the cross ties, a number of kids went under the horse's neck in front. And look, I've done it myself, but we all know that that is one of the least safe ways of moving around the horse. And one of the things we wanted to see was that the kids moved confidently around the horse. They were touching it or talking to it. A couple of kids, when they went behind the horse, would go all the way to the back of the cross tie, which was a stall. And, that's less safe than walking right behind the horse's hindquarters. So the more experienced kids just showed a high degree of competency and confidence in how they moved around the horse. And a number of the kids did not come across as absolutely confident in how to move around the horse. And I'm sure some of the kids were nervous, and we did our best to put them at ease. And we could tell some of the difference between nervousness and just some lack of experience. So that was, the grooming the horse was definitely a really hands-on activity. Then we asked them to tack the horse up. We had boots, front and back boots. We had a saddle, pad, girth, and a bridle. And we explained they were just tacking the horse up to go for a ride. They weren't show tacking the horse. But we wanted to see how they tacked up the horse. And it was very interesting. The kids, there was a variety of order in how they did things. We didn't have absolute hard and fast rules, because when the kids, especially those who did something out of order, and if they explained it or explained that that's how their trainer really wanted things done, we didn't feel it was appropriate to penalize the kid, although we were a little surprised on some of the supposed barn rules that exist. We did expect the boots to be put on first. Some kids struggled with putting boots on. which one went on the right leg and the left leg. They definitely knew front from back. Some of them didn't move around the horse's legs very well. One girl kneeled on the ground. We didn't always see the safest work around the horse's legs. A couple of them actually stood more in front of the horse to put the boots on, which, of course, if that horse stomped at a fly, it would bash the kid in the head. I had one young lady who I just moved her because she was right in front of the horse, and it was just too dangerous for her. And she looked a little surprised. So it was pretty clear to me she wasn't that familiar with putting the boots on the horse and working around the horse to that degree. Then where it did get interesting is some kids put the bridle on first and just said, this is how we do it in our barn. Those kids didn't get a 4. I guess you could argue with it. We didn't penalize them down to a 2. But the other judge and I, when we had gone through this beforehand and agreed on some absolutes as well as some expectations, and from our own knowledge and in reading some stable management stuff and things like that, agreed that really the bridle goes on last. Saddling, this was where some of the kids' organization skills came about. Some of them didn't really assess where the tack was, which was right outside the tack room. The bridle was on a hook, saddle was on a stand. It was all neat, but they didn't really organize themselves. So they'd maybe go get the pad and then put the boots on and then get the saddle, but not take the girth with them. So it just seemed like some of them kind of lacked a method of efficiently and safely tacking the horse up. And bridling, some of them, both horses were very, very easy to bridle. But it was clear to both of us that some of the kids, if a horse had been at all difficult, they would have been pretty lost on how to bridle. So that was definitely an area that I think the kids could do more. The ones who got 4s actually looked at the bridle and made sure it fit the horse well, and kind of adjusted it around so it was really fitting the horse's head well, not just putting it on and ignoring it. Pulling the forelock out, smoothing it down, making sure extra mane wasn't underneath the crown piece, kind of wiggling it around so the brow band wasn't too high, things like that. The ones who really put that detail and made sure it fit. We did tell them before they started the tacking part that the bridles were already adjusted for the horses, so they weren't being tested on like how the bit fit in the horse's mouth, that they could rest assured that the bridle was already properly adjusted for the horse. We just wanted to see them, how they put it on and how they fastened everything. Then our next task was, we then, at this point, they were done working with a horse, and everything else became items to look at, talk about, and things like that. So we asked them that when they arrived at the horse show, and it was their responsibility to get their horse's stall ready for their horse that was arriving shortly after, what things would they look for? And almost every single one of them definitely picked up on things like make sure there's not nails and boards protruding out. The ones with a little more experience checked the door latch, made sure the door latch worked. A couple of them even made sure the door swung all the way open and closed all the way easily. And then the even more experienced ones looked at the shavings, talked about shavings depth. Some talked about banking a stall, that there was water for the horse, that there was feed or a feed area for a horse, or maybe a feed bucket. So it was those more extra things that we were looking for to get the 4. Then moving this down a little bit, we had a table of bits, and we were not hung up on the kids being able to give us precise names for each bit. As it is, there's so many different mouthpieces and everything now that one person could call something a French link and somebody else calls it something else. We weren't worried about that. We did want them to be able to differentiate between a snaffle, a pelham, talk about leverage, like a 3-ring bit that's got a snaffle setup, but that it has a leverage component, gags. So we want them to understand bit categories. And then our question to them was identifying bits that they would consider using on a horse that was strong and discussing it. And the more knowledgeable kids were able to talk about the fact that a pelham and a 3-ring both could be strong bits, and the differences in how they functioned. The ones who understood the shank length on a pelham and the mouthpiece on a pelham both affected its strength. The kids who got 4 on this also responded that the mildest bit in the wrong hands can be very strong and abusive. They really had a good in-depth knowledge, and that was great. And then on the bit selection, number 8, we asked them to identify the bits that were appropriate for an age group equitation class, and then of those bits, each bit's basic function. Again, we weren't worried about a tom thumb broken mouth pelham, but we did want them to know it was a pelham. We wanted them to know it was a broken mouth snaffle. We wanted them to know it was of a shorter shank or a longer shank. And what could and couldn't be used in the equitation. Surprisingly, a number of them identified at least one wrong bit. They weren't, and we didn't have super tricky ones. We had things like a 3-ring, we had a gag. We didn't have some, things that were real subtle. Some of them actually didn't include some bits, especially some snaffles that maybe had a little bit of a different mouthpiece that wasn't familiar to them. They didn't understand just that a snaffle is an acceptable bit. So that was our bit table. And I would say that we will again have a bit table. Might ask some different questions. Again, the focus is going to be on function, not just identification. We're not worried about the kid who can just label everything perfectly but really doesn't have any idea what it means. We'd much rather have them demonstrate their knowledge of how things work and when and why you would use it, and aren't as worried about the precise name. But at the same time, if a kid is asked to go into the tack room and get the trainer a pelham, we expect them to walk out to the ring with a pelham and not some other gadget. And then finally, the last 2 things we asked them for was to identify each of the items appropriate for use as an exercise bandage and those as a standing wrap. This was pretty simple. We had some polo wraps there. We had some under wraps and a good elastic, kind of a stretchy type bandage for the wrap. And most of the kids knew this pretty well. And for fun, we asked them a little bit about, when you'd use different wraps and bandages and things like that. They were all pretty strong in this area. The area where across the board they were the weakest was identifying feeds. And again, we did not make this tricky. We wanted to hear grain for grain. We weren't worried about whether it was cob or sweet feed or a specific type of grain. We just wanted the recognition that it was grain. So the categories that they were presented with was a grain, which we just had a mixed grain. Bran, we had beet pulp, we had alfalfa pellets, and we had alfalfa hay and grass hay. What we were looking for is their ability to identify between a concentrate and a roughage. What things you would feed more of, looking at the alfalfa and the grass, the hays, the pellets, the beet pulp, and understanding that the grain and the bran and things like that you feed in a smaller quantity, and the reasons. We also asked for any special preparation. if they were aware of the importance of soaking beet pulp. Um, the kids who noted that bran, when it's mixed with something, it's more likely for the horse to eat it. Um, and so it was definitely the feed type stuff. The kids were the weakest on. A fair number of them couldn't even differentiate between alfalfa and grass hay, and didn't, looking at the two hays side by side, they were aware that maybe they were different, but beyond that, they were a little lost. So we really encouraged them to go back to their barns and start poking their nose in the feed room and talking to the workers at the barn, and getting a little more feed knowledge. So that's a run through. This isn't all about me talking the whole time. Would love to hear from some of you. Do we have any of the kids who participated last year on the webinar? If so, if you want to type your name, or if you're shy and you want to just say yes, that would be great. While I'm waiting to see if some names get typed in, I want to go back, and when I talked about the 11 and under category we have, those kids have, they take a little bit easier written test, the Horsemanship Quiz Challenge Level 1 of the USHJAs instead of Level 2. And the other thing is they have a modified hands-on test. They had 10 items also. It was just simplified for them. And the 11 and under kids really seemed to enjoy it, and they felt really confident. And I know one or two of them told me that they're going to do the full program this coming year. So I was really excited about that. Julia Stone, hi there. She's our winner from the last 2 years. She's definitely one of those that you could go away for the weekend, and at least I would, and I'd hand my horses over to her, and I think the only thing I'd worry about is whether I got them back or not. She was just super confident working around the horses, and really had some very good solid knowledge, and it was exciting to see, and it's exciting to know she's earned herself some really great college money, and I know her family was really excited about it. Question has, what kind of grass hay was shown in comparison to the alfalfa hay? I went searching for a grass hay that looked really different from the alfalfa. I made sure that it definitely wasn't at all close, and the kids could tell the difference, and then they stopped. Now, some of them, and we encouraged them to do this, they'd get down and touch it, and they'd notice that one had leaves and one didn't, and boy, any observation they could make for us would get them a point or a tenth of a point added. We were looking to give them points for their knowledge. And Alex Farfaris is with us too. She did the 11 and under program, I believe, last year. And I think she's one of the ones who's contemplating the full program. It might be, she might be 12 now anyhow, but she was more than ready to tackle the bigger program, and I really look forward to seeing her in it. She did a super job, and she was the inspiration actually for me. I helped do some judging in 2015, and I got to do Alex's hands-on test, and we really had a great time. We just chatted and talked, and she started out really nervous, and by the end she was telling me all sorts of stuff, and it really inspired me to sit down and work with Sandrine and some of the other people on the board to enhance and revise our Horsemastership hands-on phase, to really draw out the kids' knowledge and to really help show what they do know, and to make the scoring a little bit more consistent and a little more straightforward. And Anne-Marie Watkins, who's a terrific amateur rider and is a teacher in her professional trade, and she had some input and help with this last year also, and was very supportive of our more, what we would like to think, straightforward scoring method, and hopefully we created clarity for people when they were doing this. Um, and one of the things, now that we're doing this webinar, we're going to put an announcement in the newsletter that any of the kids who want their tests back, and the only problem is some of the chicken scratch between Courtney and I might be a little bit hard to read, but we'll keep copies so that if somebody can't read our chicken scratch, we can help decipher it. But we really want to see this hands-on phase be a learning tool, and we don't want it to be a mystery. So we want to give these tests back to the kids who participated, and we want them to learn from it. And you know, I've asked some of the kids. I know I've talked to Julia a little bit. I've talked to Tony Anderson, and I believe the two of them went to both qualified for the Horsemanship Quiz Challenge finals, the national finals. They went back east. They participated with the other top kids, and I believe the Horsemanship Quiz Challenge takes people up to through college. It's either 21 or 25. So it's a great format for really learning and demonstrating your knowledge, and I was just really proud that we had 2 LAHJA members representing us on the national level. And this year we've asked for and received a grant from USHJA Zone 10 and also from the USHJA Foundation, and we're going to be able to use that money to help augment the program. And we want to be able to give a small travel grant to the top high score written person as well as the high score hands-on person, that if they qualify for the National Horsemanship Quiz Challenge, we'll give them a little bit of grant money so that they can go back and represent us well yet again. And there's some great prizes in that national program, and some really good recognition. So I hope we get to see more LAHJA members at that national level. That's the run through I have for us tonight. I promised I was going to try to keep this under 45 minutes, and we're at 37, so I might be getting a 4 on my timing, or at least a 3.5. Some of the kids, Julia, Alexandra, or some of the others, do you guys have any questions? Do you have any comments? What was your experience like? Some ideas of different things that you would like to be tested on. Were there things you thought we focused too much on, and other things you thought we should have focused more on? And I've gotten a few more ideas of some, fun things we can do with this hands-on, but I would love to hear from any of the participants and any comments they might have. I'm really looking forward to having Anne-Marie more involved with the program. I think she's going to have some great insights for us, both because of her experience as a teacher and an educator, as well as a longtime rider and competitor and barn rat. I think she's going to be able to help us further enhance this program. And not really seeing any other questions or comments coming in. We'll give it another minute or so. But I hope those of you on this webinar have found it helpful. It's a grand experiment, and LAHJ, we really feel that there's some information and knowledge that we can share through an easy, hopefully this was an easy format for everybody, and you can be at home and partake in something. Love to hear comments either now or email me later, and let us know if this was valuable and worthwhile. And as Ian, our IT guy, thank goodness for IT guys, as he said in the comments early on, that this will be available on this website, and we'll put a link in the newsletter and on Facebook, and this will be available. So for those who couldn't make it tonight, now there's a tool where they can see what we talked about, what some of the things were that we tested on, and how we measured the testing. Alex is commenting that she's found the experience great. I believe she's done it for 2 years, and that she really learned a lot from the talking and the discussion format, rather than just, okay, do this and then stand back, but really having the discussion. She really found beneficial, and it was really enjoyable to talk with the kids. It's just a great group of young people. Julia, who's done the program several times, really liked the hands-on phase. That she felt the scoring was more fair, it was easier to understand, and that it allowed the participants to really show what they knew. And that was one of our biggest goals, was to let the kids show us what they knew. And that the tasks being asked were very reasonable and fair. So I'm gratified. I can't wait for, Julia's going to go off to college, and then we're going to tap her on the shoulder and say, hey, come back and help us with this program. You'll have a lot of great insights. And a comment from Anne Marie that she too is supportive of this format and the idea of clarifying and discussing. It's definitely not meant to be a secret. We want people to learn. We want them to enjoy learning. We want people to share knowledge, and make this a constructive thing. Nothing's designed to be punitive whatsoever. Believe me, Courtney and I were looking to give as strong as scores as we could, but at the same time holding up the standards. So with that, I'm going to thank you everybody for checking in tonight and spending 40 to 45 minutes with us, and thank you for the support of this program. Quick question on the boots we provided. Being asked if there were different types of boots for the kids to choose from, and no, we kept it really straightforward. We had one set of boots. We said it was just a hacking session. More what we were looking for was the ability to identify front from back, right from left, and then how they put the boots on. Did they work around the horse safely? Did they put the boots on appropriately? So it was just one type of boot. And they were a simple, like the escadron boots with just the simple Velcro. But we wanted to make sure they were put on the leg correctly and in the correct place, and where they kind of slid into place, and how tight or how loose were the boots put on, things like that. So I'm getting a couple of nice thank yous, and thank you back to all of you guys. You guys and your enthusiasm is what makes doing this program so fun and rewarding, and I'm really honored to get to be a part of it. So thank you to everybody. Thank you for your support of LAHJA, and we'll see you at Horsemastership this year, and start studying now for the Horsemanship Quiz Challenge for the written phase. It's open, and I want to see our LAHJA kids doing great. So thank you very much. Have a good evening. See you guys at the horse show.